Thank you to all our partners and anyone hopping on today to learn a little bit more about Quest services. Today, like Paul mentioned, we are going to be going through the exciting world of on-call support services from a technical staffing and resource standpoint. So we call this service Talks for short, and kind of jump into what it is, how to position it, and a little bit about what we're going to be covering today. So technical on-call support, we're going to be going through a couple of use cases, what's worked, what hasn't, where to engage in a talks engagement versus a staffing engagement versus a help desk engagement, all those types of things. And then also just talking conceptually around where you start, right? Where you start with a simple engagement, how you can help clients with immediate needs and then grow into additional needs. That's really one of the key opportunities within talks and within staffing. And then, what's driving this, right? Why is this engagement model working, right? It's not necessarily because it's the perfect thing to sell. It is often, like a lot of the things that we talk about around Quest services and offerings, it's driven by client need. So we're going to talk a little about the labor shortage, for about the next 10 years, what we're looking at from a IT support and management standpoint. So that's a little bit about what we're going to be covering. Hopefully, what you're going to be able to understand and some basic knowledge you're going to gain from this is a little bit of strategies to expand into opportunities like technical staffing, sourcing, and technical on-call support, right? How to get involved in that, how to position that with your clients, how to ask a couple questions to get the juices flowing with the client around, hey, yeah, this is something you as a technology advisor, as a VAR, as an MSP, whatever business model you're in, this is a very simple way to add on additional revenue to your existing client base, and really help them with what they're trying to achieve. Again, I think pretty sure everyone on here is in some sort of sales. So how do we grow revenue? How do we help our clients? How do we add to maybe that monthly reoccurring base that we all love, as well as, support, one-off projects and additional opportunities. So we're a little bit about service expansion, a little bit about revenue growth, and then, developing that value prop. How are your customers dealing with technology shortage? How can they, get a better return on investment when they're deciding, hey, do I go hire a FTE? Do I staff somebody? Do I get a contractor in here? Do I work with a service provider? How do we do this? What makes sense for their business? Always critical what's relevant to them. And we're going to share a little bit about what we're seeing drive these engagements from a Quest perspective. So we're going to be going through some sales skills. Again, we're all sales folks here. This is a sales boot camp. So hope everyone's in the right place. We're going to go through helping clients understand the need, and then we're going to put together a little bit of a value prop and how it helps here. So thanks again, everyone, for joining. Really appreciate you making the time. And again, like I mentioned before, kicking things off, this is one of my favorite topics that we have, and one of the favorite service areas that we have from a Quest standpoint. And the reason is because, again, Quest strategy, what we believe is that we are here to help clients with their IT needs, and we want to know how we can help. And one of the biggest areas where we've been helping over about the last 15 to 20 years is growing staffing and helping to source technical resources to either contract or manage and support clients' needs, right? So we're going to get into some numbers a little bit later, but there's a huge need in the market right now for technical assistance, right? Immediate support. How do we achieve our goals with our new platforms, with our new investments, with our new SaaS, with our new cloud? Whatever the platform, product, service, whatever it is, people need help getting the most out of it, right? And there's a gap there. I don't care what size the business is, if it's a SMB, 20 to 50 users, if it's middle market, a couple hundred to a couple thousand, or if it's enterprise. Organizations struggle to have 24/7 availability of resources who can help address technical challenges for their company, right? So people need immediate support. They need availability of technical resources. And right now, I know the economy's where the economy is right now, but organizations are always trying to figure out how do we get more out of the resources that we have, right? So cost savings, not that you necessarily want to lead with, hey, we're going to save you money, but from a cost savings and a rationalization standpoint, on-demand services, the gig economy, Uber exists for a reason. It doesn't exist because, Gavin was super pumped and he convinced everybody to buy into this model. It exists because the gig economy is real and people are moving more and more towards that in all aspects of life. And then as you're going through, SMB and especially in the middle market, we'll get into this a little bit more later. The expertise is there's a big shortage, right? There's people who are maybe IT generalists. There's people who have specialized in a couple different offerings. But there is a lack of technical understanding and availability in everything that we're seeing from AI to data modeling to just, database administration to basic security work. Huge gap in the market. And people don't know where to call and they don't know, how to access that. And then, there's a lot of reasons on here. One of the main ones that I think is most relevant, especially in the middle market, is the peace of mind of having someone to call in the event they need support. So organizations don't know who to call. If they need help with the new shenanigans going on with VMware and the repricing model going on with Broadcom, who do I call to talk about that? Microsoft just changed the designation of a few of their key services, Active Directory, Active Directory in the cloud, Azure instances, security. Who do I call to talk about my Microsoft subscriptions or what I have available in the cloud? The peace of mind aspect of that, of having someone to engage with, is driving a lot of organizations to look for help outside of their kind of traditional partner base. So these are some of the whys that are helping people, like when they're trying to understand, why do I need technical on-call support, or why do I need to staff with a third party? Again, availability, the ability to immediately help, peace of mind, having someone to call. It allows their organization to focus on their key business objectives as opposed to maybe patching or blocking and tackling or dispatching techs out of region. A lot of good drivers for that as far as why people are struggling with this. In the market, right? So those are some anecdotal kind of reasons that we've heard and things that we've seen as a trend. But what's driving that is the talent shortage in the market, right? And the talent shortage in the market is going to impact and has been impacting companies' revenues over the past 10 years and going forward for the next at least 10 years into 2030 and beyond. So organizations are they're facing a challenge finding skilled personnel to execute on the latest and greatest tech that Gartner and IDC and the firms are pushing out there as far as, hey, this is the best of breed technology. These are the best of breed projects and services. But the trained engineering talent and cybersecurity talent and data modeling talent and AI talent, it's not there yet. It hasn't got there. So the middle market can buy the latest and greatest stuff, but they don't necessarily have the resources to help implement and execute and support the day two operations of the latest and greatest tech. All right. Everyone wants to buy a Ferrari. Very few people can actually drive a Ferrari. And, we're seeing that continue to accelerate in the market. And that's impacting revenue, right? So the labor shortage, you can see here on the left-hand side, there's a huge labor shortage. Part of this is generational, right? You can see Japan, they have a very, very, a lot of their labor force is aging out significantly and not being replaced. But this is also just, hey, we have a shortage in labor to execute on the growing technology requirements. Perhaps AI will help with that, maybe, but to a lot of marketing people's chagrin, no one's really figured out how to make money on AI except for NVIDIA and a few others. So good for them. But as far as like actually transitioning AI into productivity and replacing productivity for some of these labor shortages, it's not quite there yet. So we're still kind of in that super peak of the hype cycle for that one, which it'll adjust. We'll see it down the road, but it hasn't got there yet. So talent shortage, it's significantly impacting revenues by not allowing organizations to roll out different advancements and digital transformation efforts, and that's a little bit of a challenge there for folks. Now, I'm going to get into technical on-call support here in a second, but another thing that we're noticing, and this is what we pulled recently in the last 3 months, first quarter of 2024. These are the 5 most in-demand tech jobs that we're seeing as far as in our staffing division. So Quest runs a staffing and placement capability where organizations will come to us and say, hey, I need a cybersecurity specialist who has specializations in these 3 aspects of the cybersecurity stack. We'll go through candidates for that role, and we do what's called technical screening. And then we give that client basically, hey, here's the 3 top candidates that we have out of the, out of the 100 that we screen through, and they interview and place them. These are the top 5 that we're seeing, and this is also the same top 5 that we're seeing from the market. So it was nice to see these were kind of in line. But artificial intelligence and machine learning, right? People who know how to create, model, and develop AI and machine learning. A lot of it's still machine learning. There are large language models and things like that that are getting built out there, but these are the main things that we're seeing from an artificial intelligence standpoint. And then cybersecurity specialists continues to be a major requirement. A lot of this is being driven by the new developments in the cybersecurity space. So if anyone went to RSA a couple weeks ago, you know that the cybersecurity software as a service, identity management, all the different, SASE solutions, Edge MDR, everything out there, huge, tons of options with it. Lots of Ferraris, not a lot of drivers. Okay. Not a lot of drivers, right? We see people, this happens all the time, unfortunately. If you're on our cybersecurity boot camp a few weeks back, you've heard this. A lot of people buy great defense mechanisms, great defense products, great, you got machine guns, you got turrets, you got landmines, you got barbed wire protecting the castle, but you don't have any soldiers to operate it. It's a brick. All right. So that happens to people all the time. They kind of see the pretty PowerPoint, they get sold on the capability, but who's going to operate that machine gun to protect the castle, right? Who's going to be there on point to help you operate that? A lot of people don't have that, and we're continuing to help people place, manage, and deploy those, right? Same with application development. Application development and placing those resources. People need to consistently update, manage, and integrate. People, you're seeing things with Salesforce, you're seeing things with Oracle, with NetSuite, with Microsoft, with Workday appliances, with all these different SaaS providers. They all need to talk to each other, and they all can. And everyone during the sales cycle talks about how it's all better together. But you have multiple different organizations updating their code, updating their patches, updating their security at different intervals. Someone has to be there to tie all those things together and make sure that that patch cycle doesn't break the connectivity or the transfer or basically any of that east to west movement between your SaaS applications. So software development, something we do as a service, but also we place a lot of software developers and engineers from an application standpoint. Cloud architect and data scientists are also huge from a placement standpoint. We're seeing more and more people migrating specific services to Azure, AWS, or GCP. But we're also seeing them kind of pull certain aspects of their data back on premise, right, to the edge. A lot of people are kind of going to that. 8 years ago, if someone said hybrid cloud, kind of laughed at them because they'd say like, well, I have this workload in this cloud, I have this workload in this cloud, and I have this workload in this cloud. Outside of SaaS applications, that was basically just marketing speak and people trying to, sell their relevance. But we are seeing that now. That's reality now. We are seeing people bring assets back on site. We're seeing people move specific workloads to Azure or AWS or just integrate with the existing SaaS applications. And, CCIEs and network engineers and everyone like that, the cloud architect has to understand how those systems are talking to each other. So a huge driver for that. And not a lot of people in the middle market have that cloud architecture experience. Huge gap in the ability to actually do that. And the biggest challenge, a lot of people on the call here in the sales standpoint, a lot of us are dealing with vendors and with manufacturers and with people out there who say all this stuff is plug and play. And I'm not calling them liars. I'm just saying they're maybe not telling the truth because all this stuff is very difficult to manage. It's extremely complex and you're managing a lot of different spinning plates at the same time. And that cloud architect conversation is a big gap that a lot of people say, hey, it's plug and play, just put your workload here and it's going to be great. Got to be really careful with that. Organizations need skill sets and they need resources to help them with that. Similar data scientists, these two are kind of bookends here. You have artificial intelligence and you have data scientists. All of us are sales folks. How do we create revenue? How do we help with our clients? One of the biggest areas people need help with in order to prepare for this AI and machine learning aspect is how do you classify your data? How are you managing your data? How are you basically identifying what's critical for the machine learning and the artificial intelligence versus what's just garbage in and garbage out, right? So data scientists, the ability to categorize and manage databases and understand, how the tables are written and all that kind of good stuff. Huge opportunity for clients. It's not sexy. Well, you can say data scientist. Data scientist sounds kind of sexy. But it's really just managing and classification and identifying what's where and who has ownership of what data. Huge opportunity in preparation for when people actually figure out how to make money in AI. So a lot of your clients probably aren't ready for this yet. It's good to be aware of it. It's good to be understanding it. It's good to say, hey, you want to test drive some Copilot with Microsoft and see how that works for you? Fantastic, all day long. But Copilot and Microsoft and those types of things from an AI perspective is going to be supercharged by having good data. So great opportunity. All right. Sorry, Paul, was there a question?
Oh, no question right now. Well, people were curious if they can see all the slides. We're good.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. And this
Yeah.
is this is all recorded as well, and on our partner portal. So anyone who wants to just click on the partner portal, we'll show you some links at the end. It's not behind a username or password or anything like this. All of this is publicly accessible and yours to use however you'd like to. Um, so um, the reason for today's call is we're going to talk a little bit about technical on-call support. We kind of went through those staffing requirements and some of those top 5 staffing resources that we're seeing. But technical on-call support is the ability for an organization to have access to anyone on our engineering team or in our database of about 500 resources with different skill sets. So, and why did we develop technical on-call support? Quest is an MSP. We're a cybersecurity provider. We're a VAR. We do application development. We have all sorts of different business units. We have a specialization in unified communications, all sorts of different specializations in verticals. If you've been on previous calls, you've learned a little bit about the Quest strategy. You saw a little bit of maybe saw our pie chart with our different keystones in there and our different service offerings. We developed technical on-call support about 6 years ago, and it came out of the idea of, and it's our fault for not communicating. It's our job as sales folks and as technology support personnel to let people know how we can help. But we would consistently have service managers, right? So every managed service account that we have, every organization that we support, 24/7 monitoring, alerting, some aspect of their technology, they have a service manager, right? So oftentimes they have status calls and they check in, Monday or Tuesday and see how things are going. Well, we would hear over the weekend. So like, let's say Bob would check in with Jill at an account and Jill would vent to Bob about how they had a real challenge over the weekend with a SQL database table or a query that wasn't quite working right or something with their operating system or their hypervisor. Now, we may only be supporting their firewall, or maybe we're only patching their ERP system or maintaining a certain platform, or we're kind of siloed into one of their operational units within IT. And the service manager would check in with the client, and we'd hear these challenges that they had over the weekend. Could have been a cybersecurity challenge, could have been a patching or a database challenge, could have been anything in their technology stack. There's tons of things. Could have been video surveillance. Doesn't matter what it is. And what would be hard is we have engineers in those different areas, right? They might not know that because maybe we're just providing firewall as a service for them. They don't know that we have a Microsoft SQL database DBA team that can go in there and crush that query challenge and no problem. Or we have video surveillance or Crestron or AV experts who could log in remotely and help them out with something that we've seen 1,000 times. But they didn't know that, right? They did not know that. And they had access to that in our support level, in our contracts, but they didn't know they could use it, right? They used us for one thing. We were their firewall guys, and they kind of felt like maybe they were on their own. So rather than going back and telling everybody, hey, you have all these technical support capabilities within your existing SLA, we came up with the idea of breaking out that function that all of our managed service clients have. Everyone has access to it. That's a managed service client, but we decided to break it out and create a standalone offering called technical on-call support. And technical on-call support is the same thing that we've had in our managed service agreements for 20 years, but we broke it out and classified it as a specific offering because sometimes clients, no matter how many times you tell them, hey, yeah, I know we support your firewall, but if you ever need help with Microsoft, or if you ever need help with your video surveillance, or if you ever need help with just dispatching a tech on site to help rack and stack, new servers or, new end user, desks or pull fiber, they don't necessarily hear you, right? They don't necessarily hear you. But if you break it out as a specific offering, and this was really successful for us, we broke it out as a specific offering. We call it technical on-call support. And what it does is it provides access to our entire bench of engineering and our entire network for on-call scheduled support. So think of it as the Uber for engineering, right? You need a specific skill set at a specific time, either remote or at a specific location. And your clients can schedule that with a dedicated service manager anytime they want, either by phone or by email or by customer portal. They can put in a request, hey, I need a CCIE level engineer in Perth, Australia next Tuesday to help me with a Nexus 9K turnup. I need him on site by 10 a.m. Perth, Australia time. Okay. That is an example of a client request that came in on a Thursday. They lost their CCIE. They were a technical on-call support client. They were a US-based organization that needed a specific engineering resource at a place on the globe at a specific time for a defined rate. So it's a very, very powerful contract and capability. They need a resource anywhere in the globe for a defined rate, and they need them at a specific time to help with the project. Now, one thing technical on-call support is it's not end user help desk. So Quest is a managed service provider. We support level 1, level 2, level 3, direct end user support, right? We do that all day long, 24/7, no problem. Technical on-call support is not help desk. Technical on-call support is Uber for engineering for an organization's IT team. Maybe they have their Microsoft systems administrators dialed in. They got their DBAs. They got their systems team that is comfortable with VMware. But they just bought a company that was, Citrix based, and they got to keep that Citrix farm operational for the next year while they transition. Perfect. We can coordinate for them to have a engineer with that Citrix background, help them keep that operational. They can schedule that resource. They can schedule that person to come help with patching, whatever they need to do. That gives them that kind of Uber for engineering talent, if you will. And it's a global basis. So Perth, Australia, UK, Germany, Italy, the Middle East, Taiwan, if we're still allowed to say Taiwan out loud, mainland China, Philippines, Australia. We've deployed techs all over the globe for clients in specific skill sets, no problem at all. And it's everything from that level one on-site, over the shoulder help desk kind of person, or I need to go just stand up, 20 new desktops and image them at a location. Or no, I need a senior level CCIE or cybersecurity specialist in my Ashburn data center. He's got to have a secret clearance, and he needs to be fingerprinted before he can get access. Everything between those two, we can support from a talks perspective and schedule that resource. So candidly, I don't think I've ever been on a call with a partner where we position technical on-call support and it hasn't at least sparked significant interest. We have about an 80% close when we get a chance to talk about what technical on-call support can actually do for a customer in the middle market. They don't have this talent. They don't have these resources. They don't have access to these resources. And if they're really open to engaging and asking for help, technical on-call support it's a $5,000 minimum to basically place that contract in place with them, get them onboarded, and then they draw against that $5,000 retainer. Haven't really found an organization that doesn't need this. Some enterprise folks, right? Some, 5, 10,000 user Fortune 100 folks, they might not, maybe they don't see a need for it, or they have their own network or whatever. But in the middle market, anything below, I'd say anything below 5,000, 3,000 users, huge opportunity for this. There's a huge gap in what people are able to have access to. So we built it because as a managed service provider, we got tired of hearing our customers struggling with challenges and they weren't aware that in their existing service level agreement, they had access to our entire bench of engineering talent. And a lot of MSPs are weird about going on site. We come from the professional services and the VAR world where we had engineers go on site all the time. It was part of that, hey, build, operate, and transfer, project-based work. So we know how to dispatch technicians. We know how to source resources. We know how to put this together. It's part of our DNA. So it's a really, really cool blend of managed services, professional services, and staffing that is very unique in the market, and probably one of our fastest growing new customer acquisition contracts. This is a fantastic one. And again, gentleman on our team named Dave and myself were talking about this over a weekend one time, and we just decided, hey, why don't we just create a standalone contract and we'll call it technical on-call support. Why overcomplicate it? Just keep it simple. And this one, like I was joking with Paul at the beginning of this, out of the couple hundred good idea fairy initiatives that have come through my head, this one actually stuck. So I'm really excited about this one. This one's a huge opportunity. These are some of the reasons that we're seeing clients engage with us for talks, right? Some of these are of an emergency level, right? It's, hey, I need a resource now. I have files that are, locked by ransomware. I have a site that's down. I have a branch that can't connect to the internet. Not panic button, but I need help now. The talks agreement has 3 different rates for every single resource that we have. There are remote rates that are scheduled 24 hours in advance. There are on-site rates that are scheduled 24 to 48 hours in advance. And then there's the emergency. Those are a little bit higher, but those are emergency rates. Like, hey, I need break glass. I need people here now. And we understand we live in that world where things can happen quickly. and we want to be able to accommodate that. So it's all known values, it's all known rates. It's just there in 12-point font, no surprises, and it draws against that retainer. We also see things like if anyone's in the Microsoft world, and you're dealing with, well, who am I kidding? This is a PowerPoint presentation on, well, we're not on Teams, but everyone's in the Microsoft world. There is Microsoft Premier support. We've seen some organizations, school districts, SLED, anyone who holds like enterprise licensing agreements. We've seen organizations use technical on-call support to augment their Microsoft Premier support. So if you've called up Microsoft Premier or some of the other, Cisco TAC or others, you kind of go through an escalation process to get to maybe an engineer you want to talk to. We can kind of usually cut down on that pretty quick. You can call in and you have the ability to escalate directly to the level of engineer and support that you want. Like, I need a Azure Active Directory specialist, or I need XYZ specialist, and I need him at this point, at this time now. Technical on-call support gives the ability for those types of resource requests. So if you're talking to customers, if you're working with people, technical on-call support can be broad and can be a little vague. Sometimes a good way to get that in the customer's mind is like, yeah, this could help me, is if they have a specific technology they're looking for help with, but maybe they don't want to go to a full staffing engagement. You can say, hey, well, we have this technical on-call support arrangement where we have resources in this skill set, Microsoft, for example, or Cisco or Citrix. We have engineers in this skill set. You can put a $5,000 retainer in place as opposed to hiring someone for, $5,000 to $10,000 a month. And you can use that for that skill set. And if they knock it out quick, or if you get it done and you want to use it for something else, here's the other 20 different things you could use it for. So use that pain point that they might be having with any of those vendors going through the private equity venture capital gauntlet right now and things getting mixed up. We have people who've been there. We have people who can help. Use that pain point as a catalyst to get a talks agreement in place, but then it also can translate to a lot of other things for that client. We'll, again, like I said, we'll send out these slides. This is some of the information we're seeing as far as the talent shortage, right? Gartner's promoting this as well as, it's the talent shortage is a big barrier to adoption of new technology, right? So SASE solutions or MDR or zero trust initiatives. I was just on a call with a customer yesterday. They have a zero trust initiative that they're trying to roll out, but they can't find anyone to help them deploy, manage, or maintain the identity access and the zero trust features that they just bought, from a vendor. The vendor's backlogged a couple months with their own professional services, and they don't have anyone in-house who can help them with that. So, anecdotally, we're seeing this as well, that people are buying the new tech, they're buying the new Ferrari. They don't necessarily have anyone who can help them drive it. And even the vendors are backlogged with this kind of stuff. So, yeah, it's definitely something we're continuing to see, and we're training our people. We're finding new people all the time. And Quest is very comfortable coordinating resources and deploying people all over the country. Sometimes you're going to see, and some people have this belief, some people on this call might have this belief, not saying you're wrong, just saying it's a different belief than what we have. Some people believe that, hey, I'm an MSP and I support this region of the country. And if it's outside this region of the country, I don't have the people, the skill set, or the knowledge of that region of the country to help that customer. That is the exact opposite of what Quest thinks and believes. So when you're partnering with us or when you're working with us, just know that if you ask me, hey, Adam, do you have a resource that can help with deployment of endpoints and SASE in XYZ country? Unless it's on the federal no-fly or terrorist watch list, we might strap on some body armor and go handle it, but probably not. We're gonna say, yeah, we can source that for you. We can find that for you. We can get that done. We just finished a 30 country firewall as a service rollout project where we were about 3 months ahead of schedule. We've done a couple hundred sites around the world in managed wireless engagements, including cabling and dealing with all the permitting processes internationally. If you have a limiting belief that because you don't know a region or a skill set or a good contact to reach out to, and you want help from an organization that does not have that limiting belief, we can engage with you and we would love to help. We know it's not for everybody. We know that coordinating resources internationally, or even, hey, I'm from Ohio and I have an opportunity for a client in Florida, but I don't know who to call in Florida to help me deliver this. I got project management, but I need XYZ resources. We do that all day long. We've been doing that for 20 years. That's part of our consciousness and part of what we believe at Quest as far as helping to get that stuff done. And if you're struggling with that, just remember, you hop in a plane, you go to a sales conference in Las Vegas or in Orlando or in DC, you have an application on your phone that you trust, that you push a couple buttons, and then a stranger comes up and you get in that stranger's car and you trust that stranger to get you from point A to point B. Okay, so you're already doing this. You're maybe more comfortable with it because, it's Uber and they made a super pumped movie about it, but it's the same concept. Okay, don't overthink it. It's a gig economy. We validate and do background checks, and we run a staffing organization on the back end that keeps all of these people pretty busy from a billable standpoint. So great resources, great assets, great ability to turn on and get people deployed when you need them. So that's that. I'll get off my soapbox around the gig economy, but part of why we do this, and one of the things we see is this does evolve into a lot of other things too, right? So you're thinking like, okay, cool, Adam, it's $5,000. Like no one's paying a mortgage off with commissions from a $5,000 PS engagement. You're absolutely right. You're absolutely right. But when you get involved in a company's operations, when you place them and you help them with resources, this can transition to a lot of other things very, very quickly, right? Especially around areas of cybersecurity. When something hits the fan, not that you want to be an ambulance chaser or anything, but a lot of folks don't know who to call in an emergency. And if you have a technical on-call support agreement with a client and you're in their mind, some sales folks, myself included, struggle with is we think our clients are thinking about us, right? They're not. They're thinking about taking their kids to soccer practice or what they're going to eat for dinner that night or their vacation or whatever. They're not thinking about us. But if you have a technical on-call support agreement with them, you are in their mind as someone who they can call to help in the event of emergency, right? So a talks agreement is planting the seed that, hey, if you ever need support, if you ever need emergency assistance, you have an agreement in place that you can escalate very, very quickly and get emergency support for on-site dispatch, helping with incident containment, just understanding what's your status of your backups. It plants the seed, right? It plants the seed as far as being available in the event of emergency. We talked a little bit about it at the beginning of the conversation today. Long-term staffing. Organizations are having huge challenges finding people to help them with their upgrade and migration projects. We have state contracts, we have enterprises. A lot of people have legacy databases built on things like COBOL and all sorts of legacy applications, Big Iron, IBM, that need to be modernized in order to be moved to the cloud. These are multi-year engagements. And what you can do is technical on-call support is one angle, help them out with some beans and bullets and some simple stuff, right? I need a CCIE here. I need a systems administrator here. I need a database administrator here. But then you can parlay that into a long-term staffing engagement, right? Like, hey, I saw what you guys were doing with XYZ. Can you tell me a little about that modernization project? What do you need help with there? Well, I need 3 COBOL engineers, or I need someone who can do JavaScript or Java development. Do you have people? That's a great pivot to short-term, couple-hour engagement to long-term staffing contracts. We have one organization going through a digital transformation effort, their words, from a COBOL to PostgreSQL. And we, through a technical on-call support and initial engagement, helping them out with the database, we were able to place about 4 people at that account to help them with that database transformation and that digital transformation effort. They didn't have to hire anybody, but these people have been in place as contractors for the last year and a half and have billed well over almost $2 million. Completely commissionable, completely tied to our partners. Fantastic sales opportunity. And that all happened from a Tox agreement, right? We helped them out with some initial database assessment, and they happened to ask, hey, do you guys have COBOL engineering talent? So excellent engagement. Again, you're planting that seed. You're getting involved in their day-to-day operations. You're understanding their challenges. It can transition to help desk. It can transition to ongoing monitoring, just basic managed services up, down. You're involved in that day-to-day. You're there to help. It's a huge opportunity. Won't go through all these top 10 reasons. This will be part of the presentation we can send to you, but we've been talking through this, but it really does help, strengthen your relationship with your client first and foremost. You're helping them address a specific challenge in a way that helps them from having to go out, hire, source, evaluate, recruit full-time employees in a skill set that after they onboard them, we've all seen this happen where they get onboarded, they get familiar, they get a couple certs, and then they hop to the next job. Nothing against them. Everyone's looking out for their own best interest. Totally get it. But that leaves that organization pretty stuck with they got to start all over again. And that burns a lot of time, burns a lot of capital. Technical on-call support or technical staffing and screening can really help organizations scale. It reduces their disruptions. It allows them to get specialization as opposed to generalists. Like, it's great that their IT director, stayed at a Holiday Inn Express last night and read the pamphlet, but like maybe they need some specialization there, right? Maybe they need some resources to help, get that done. People who've been through that upgrade cycle, that patching, that that movement from that call center, 10.4 to 11.2. All those things really help as far as when we're updating and when people are looking to scale. So great opportunity there. So closing things out here. I know hopefully we got a couple questions. If not, hopefully Paul will make a few up. Just kidding. But there's a huge shortage right now in technical resources across all industries. I don't care if it's state and local government or if it's manufacturing, financial services, healthcare, any type of distribution. Tons and tons of opportunity, especially in the consolidation space. We're seeing a lot of people get consolidated through private equity and venture capital roll-ups and things like that. Huge opportunity to get in those conversations. Hey, do you need some help? The talks engagement plants the seed, gets you in the conversation, gets you available addressing specific pain points for your clients, and it can transition into long-term engagements. We've had talks agreements in place now that get refreshed every year. We have some that transition to monthly reoccurring because they like it. They just want to have a bucket of funds. Huge opportunity. Start small, $5,000. Again, I don't think a lot of us have clients that are, producing, any revenue for us that can't afford a $5,000 agreement to start and get a good friend or someone to call, kind of a phone a friend situation around engineering. And Tox is very unique in the market. It's Uber for engineering. You can schedule resources when you need them, where you need them. You have a dedicated service manager. We have partners take advantage of this. We have end users take advantage of this. It's really built around helping people where they need the help. And again, Quest's main, trademark go to market is how can we help? And I believe Tox really addresses that need for everybody. So Paul, any questions from the group or anything we can help address?
Yeah, no, they're making my life easy. I don't have to make up questions. So here are some
Sweet.
questions from James. He's wondering um, if the SOW forecast is higher than 5K, do you require a larger retainer?
Yeah, so we have some clients that they budget for it based on what they think they're going to be needing. So it can be our largest talks has been a couple $100,000. The minimum is 5,000 to start. That's really onboarding them as a new client, getting a service manager assigned, and then what we can do is talk through their expected what their expected use rate or use kind of cadence will be, right? If they're saying, "Hey, I'm going to sign up for this Tox agreement. I think I might need some Microsoft help every 6 months." Cool, let's start with 5,000. If they're thinking like, "Hey, I want to use Tox. And I'm going to basically have a virtual. I want to have a virtual CISO or virtual cybersecurity expert, you know, every week scheduled for 10 hours every week. Maybe we want to have a different conversation. So it's really going to be based on how often they think they want to use the resources and what resources, what rates they want to use.
James also wondered if the customer would also need help or help desk, what does that look like?
Yeah, no, great question. So, Tox is something that we can blend with any managed service agreement. So, like if they want help desk support, let's say like 100 users, right? We put together a service level agreement with, defined, hey, this is our role and our responsibility. This is the client's role and responsibility. And we define that in a service level agreement. And then we have a monthly reoccurring charge for that. In addition to that, so let's say that's section one. Section two of the SLA can be the specific technical on-call support arrangement, where it's basically the Tox funds are held in a separate bucket for that client to use. So they subscribe to help desk on a per user or a per ticket basis, and that's a defined monthly recurring charge in the contract. And then right underneath that is, hey, and we also want to put aside $1,000 a month or just do the $5,000 retainer for
Mhm.
technical on-call support for anything that's outside the scope of the help desk. So for example, a help desk request could be like, hey, I'm having trouble logging onto this wireless network at this new office building. And an end user calls into our help desk and we help walk them through, accessing that local network. That would be a help desk request. In Tox, they have what's called an escalation authority list because Tox is money associated with, it's basically a bucket of money that they're going to schedule resources against. So we have personnel who are authorized within that account who can spend that money, right? You don't have, Bob or Sally down in the HR department call up and start spending, $250 an hour, cybersecurity resource dollars, right? But you don't
Mhm.
want to do that. You have the IT department or who's ever authorized to spend that money. We separate them in the customer profile. So, but we can basically bundle them together and manage it that way.
All right, Adam, three more questions and then gift card giveaway. So a little speed round here.
Yep.
Is there a time limit to spend the 5K?
No, it's the customer's money. It does roll over. What we do is we provide it for them on an annual basis. So it is a 12-month contract. At the end of 12 months, they have the option to extend it. In our contracts, because we have to basically account for that over the year. If they have any unused dollars, let's say they spent 5,000 and they booked 5,000, but they only used four. What we say is, hey, if you want to have access to that $1,000 for the next year, we'd like to say, please add an additional, 50% of your initial investment to that bucket, and we'll extend it for another year. So we don't make them like pay the full 5K every year, but we like to, have them add some funds to maintain that year over year, or else it really messes up our accounting. So, of
Okay.
course, we can always work on that, and just give us a call if you want to talk about it.
Is there a time and material rate card for the various services offered?
Yes. It's in the talks agreement in the contract. Yes.
Perfect. And final question. How long will engagements last? Shortest, longest, average?
Great question. So the shortest billable increment for remote resources is 15 minutes. So we bill on 15-minute increments. On-site dispatch is a 4-hour minimum. And emergency services are an hour minimum for emergency and a remote, and 4 hours for emergency on-site dispatch.
Beautiful.
Lots of them, lots of talks requests are completed, 2-hour, 4-hour blocks of time from a remote standpoint. Most people use them that way, but a lot of people do use them for on-site dispatch as well.
Okay, beautiful. We are almost at that time. We are going to do the giveaway. Couple quick things I do want to mention. If you would like to, we have a Quest Channel Partner Forum, June 12th. So the Partner Forum is June 12th at 9 a.m. It's available for everybody. Come in and join, get your questions answered, learn what's happening. Adam, anything you want to add about that?
Yeah, so the partner forum is an opportunity. Myself and a few other representatives from the Quest partner team, Gary Schick, Brian Perdue, a few others. It's an interactive session with our existing partners. So you come on board, we talk about what we're doing differently and what's new, what's changing, spiffs, what we're seeing work in the channel, what we're not seeing work in the channel, and it's an opportunity to get direct feedback from our partners. So we do that every quarter. This quarter is going to be on June 12th. So I was really excited about that. And yeah, definitely if you're interested in coming, please reach out if you haven't already got registered for it.
Great. Partner forum on June 12th. And the next boot camp, the final in this series is increase revenue opportunities through assessments. And that's June 26th. You can register on the website. We'll have the link here as well. And again, this video will be available through our partner portal. So you can always watch it through our partner portal. Yeah, we hope you got a lot out of this. But now, Darcy, hello. Glad you're here. We get to a random attendee is going to win a $200 gift card.
It is the most exciting part after all this great information. Today's winner is John Martell. So thank you everyone for joining. John, you'll be receiving an email from us with the information regarding the gift card. So another great session. Adam, thank you so much. This is great information.
Excellent. Yeah, thank you all for joining us today. Congratulations, John. And yeah, if you want to hop on the partner forum or on the next boot camp, we're going to be going through assessments and some of those engagements. So really looking forward to it. And thanks everyone again for coming.
Have a great
Thanks,
day.
everyone. Have a great day. Bye.